right. Thank you, Crystal. And the coronavirus outbreak is, of course, impacting the Democratic nomination for president and their campaigns. Here in Florida, some polling places in nursing homes and assisted living facilities having to be moved to other locations to avoid exposing, older residents to their risk for the virus.
Right. They do have that vulnerable risk. So there are a lot of questions going into today's primary and what it means for the top two Democratic presidential candidates. So joining us now from our newsroom is News 6 political analyst and UCF history professor, Dr. Jim Clark. And Dr. Clark, this is the first time we can recall dealing with this kind of pandemic in an election season. Does that impact voter turnout?
It has in the past. Unfortunately, the last time we went through this was an election of 1918. So it's been a while. Orlando only had 9,000 residents at the time, but everything was shut down. Schools and restaurants, everything closed down. So this is fairly new turf for us.
And Dr. Clark, when we look at history, we talked about, other things that have happened in history, the 1918 pandemic, 9/11 hurricanes. But many times things are canceled. Other times they have to go on. We're looking at Ohio, for instance. They have had a battle about whether or not to proceed with today. And there are more legal issues to come.
There are. There was a suit filed yesterday here in Florida challenging the primary. So that was filed in federal court. We'll see how that plays out. There are just so many questions about what's going to happen today and the repercussions. Will there be more voting later? Will they let people submit ballots later? As you know, Bridget, you can submit military and overseas ballots until March 27th. So will they try to make some adjustments there? So there are so many questions, but of course, it wouldn't be a Florida election without lawsuits and confusion.
Right, and Crystal just reported that, say you can't make it out to the poll today, that you could try to get a ballot and try to get it in by 7 tonight, but that's going to be difficult for a lot of people.
For a lot of people, that is going to be difficult. It's 2 trips to the polls when a lot of people don't want to make 1 trip to the polls.
Now, has early voting helped, do you think, in any of this?
I think early voting, according to the numbers, has been down also. People don't want to get out. They don't want to touch a screen that may have been touched by people before them. They don't want to interact. And there are some municipal elections around the state, but generally we know that President Trump is going to win the Republican race, and it's pretty certain that Joe Biden is going to win the Democratic race. So there's not the urgency that you might have in a general election.
And Dr. Clark, there's been, talk about where we stand right now in terms of our response as a country to this current situation, and how is that affecting the political climate in the debate about, the nomination for president?
A month ago, 6 weeks ago, this wasn't even on the radar, and all of a sudden it's emerged as the top issue in our country. The primary season has almost moved back a bit.
I know that you just mentioned it wouldn't be a Florida election if we didn't have some sort of drama. But can you tell us a little bit about how you expect tonight to go? Do you think it'll take a long time for us to get these results? Do you think the results will be accurate?
I think they'll be accurate. First of all, remember, Florida is a 2-time zone state, so the western results will come in late, the Pensacola area. They'll be later than, say, Orlando. You have until 7 to bring back the ballot, may change things. There may be some court challenges throughout the day. So I think one of the big stories today is going to be the process of voting, not just the election returns.
All right. And so as we move forward to November, how do you think this will play into our presidential race?
Well, I think there are already people talking about, do we need to put off the election in November? Do we need to do it differently? And I think that pressure is going to ramp up in the coming weeks.
All right. Dr. Jim Clark with us. Thank you so much for your insight as always.